Please subscribe to hilarious posts and comments. Thank you. What little disgusting secret do you have? One Father's Day years ago I got a bag for the presents I bought for my dad. The bag had a picture attached that looked like a drawing a kid would have made of him and his dad sitting on a cliff with the words "Dad's Rock" in handwriting that was actually pretty similar to mine. I jokingly crossed out the artist's name and put my own. The day after Father's Day he called me while I was at my mom's house and told me he was digging through the trash looking for some mail he threw away when he saw the bag again. Turns out he never noticed my signature at the bottom and said he loved that I went through the effort to make something for Father's Day. For some reason I just went with it and said that I drew it. He ended up taking it to a shop and framing it. He made a second copy and has kept it on the fridge for 9 years. He always brags about it to any guests that come over. It is my greatest fear that someday someone will recognize the drawing from a bag they bought at Target. Before I knew what masturbation/ejaculation was, I was humping tons of things because it felt good on my penis. Well, my brother wasn't home so I went into his room to play Ocarina of Time. After a few minutes, I took off my pants and started humping his full body pillow and ejaculated. I swiftly turned off the game, turned his pillow over, and never told him. When I was young, I had to shit but needed help wiping still, but I knew Dad wouldn't help, so for some reason I shit in the backyard behind the shed. Next day Dad was going off about how the neighbor's dog shit in the backyard, and so he picked it up with a plastic bag and threw it over the fence. Mentioned this in a similar thread some time ago. Me and my brother used to fart on my dad's pillow when we were kids and it was hilarious. Every night he would go to bed and his pillow would stink and he would blame the cat. Eventually he started hiding his pillow and to this day he doesn't know. I sneeze on the dogs. I'm so tired of them getting in my face and sneezing. I swear they're doing it on purpose. Now when I feel a big one coming, I'll call them over and reciprocate. My wife caught me one day. First time I've ever made her speechless. Edit, thank you for the gold. I've slept with my aunt's daughter. My uncle, who I'm blood related to, isn't the father, and that same uncle's ex-fiance's daughter. Not technically incest but enough that I feel kind of dirty about it. When I was a kid, my older sister's friend shit her pants while she was staying over and I walked in on her cleaning up in the bathroom. We never spoke about it and of course I never told anyone. In my head, we had a special unspoken bond after that. Point is, that was the first time I had ever seen a naked girl, in person, and I think that's why I have such a serious shit fetish. When my grandmother was a teenager, she and her mother hid 5 Jews in her home. Next, the resistance dumped another 11 or 12 Jewish children on her. One of them was a 12-year-old boy. He was the only boy in the group. He was a psychopath. He hit the Jewish girls and stole food from them. He was very rude to my grandmother and repeatedly threatened to snitch on her to the Nazis. At first he threatened to snitch to get more food. His demands got more and more outrageous as time went on. At last, he demanded that they provide him with a suit. What did he want a fucking suit for? That was the last straw. My grandmother murdered him. Maybe she was under the impression that killing him would save the little girls he was abusing. Not so. They ran off and probably starved to death. Only 2 or 3 of them survived the war. Grandma mostly failed. This story makes me want to puke. A girlfriend of mine once told me my clothes suck, so she bought me a new outfit that I approved of, and we had a date later that night. I took a shower, put on the outfit, right before walking out the door figured it was good to use the bathroom number 1. Thought I had a great fart coming on, turns out it wasn't just a fart and ended up needing another shower and not wearing the shorts. Hard to come up with a reason why I wore the shirt but not the shorts. My ex-girlfriend got wasted one night and told me that she gave her brother a blowjob the night before she left for college. That's enough of a secret to keep on its own, but there's more. She ended up marrying one of my frat brothers and lives in my town. I see her almost every day. That secret is still the first thing I think about when I see her, and it has been 25 years since she told me. At my house, when I have finished an apple, which I eat near daily, I go out onto my balcony and in one swift movement throw the core as far as I can. Sometimes I hear it ding on the metal garage roof of the house across the road. Those are the good throws. Throw away or not to throw away. Fuck it. Basically, my aunt claimed she slept with her son the night before his wedding. Now it's never been confirmed with her son, my cousin, because it's just awkward. Now there's a whole convoluted story that goes along with this, which I'd be willing to tell in detail if anyone cares. Condensed version: Aunt comes to town for her oldest son's wedding after abandoning the family. During reception pulls my mom into the bathroom crying. My mom asks what's wrong, and confesses she slept with her kid the night before. Cue shot from my mom. Suddenly I'm being ripped away from the dance floor and my Shirley Temple, and my mom is crying the whole car ride home. I overhear her telling my dad what was revealed to her. Whenever she comes to town and they're in the same room together, I get the chills. Once I got a breast infection, breastfeeding related, that took forever to diagnose and treat. I had already taken antibiotics for it, but I guess the bacteria was resistant. I stopped breastfeeding and one side was fine, but the other side just kept getting bigger and it was really painful. I was doubled over in pain. I went to the doctor and they scheduled an ultrasound for the next day. There was a pimple-like thing on the side of my breast and I poked it with a sterilized needle. It turned out that the skin there was as thin as a blister and about 2 cups of pus came out of it. I felt so much better. I remember that I slept so well. Someone else watched my baby all night. I didn't go to the appointment the next day. I didn't have insurance, so it would have been really expensive. The doctor got really mad when I called to cancel. That was a few years ago. I'm fine. I've been sleeping with my first cousin for the past few years. Started out just hanging out, drinking every weekend, bullshitting at the bar. After a while she just started coming over my place to drink. Then had a conversation about porn and got horny pretty fast. Best sex I've ever had in my life, each time. Maybe it's the taboo factor and possibly getting caught that makes it better, I don't know. Haven't told anyone obviously except here on Reddit. Don't tell anyone, guys. Had been dating my boyfriend for a few months and stayed the night at the house he shared with a roommate. Despite a rumor that girls don't poop, they do, and I had to. The poop that I took was massive. Massive enough that it wouldn't flush, causing pure panic. I debated between asking for a plunger or just jumping out the window and letting that be the end of it. I ended up doing neither of those and instead grabbed the poop out of the toilet with a plastic grocery bag. My boyfriend's roommate had 2 big dogs that would poop in the backyard, so I took my bag of shit and emptied it out in the yard. Edit. Promise that any similarity to Broad City or David Sedaris is purely coincidental. I came up with this big idea in my own fucked up brain. When I was a kid, maybe age 4 to 6, another neighbor kid and I used to lick each other's pussies. She asked me to do it. She was a few years older than I was, and we'd pull each other's pants down in her playhouse and get some pussy. One of our parents caught us eventually, and I wasn't allowed to see her again. I don't feel like it has impacted me much. I don't feel traumatized. She must have gotten some kind of pleasure from it, and I was just curious and eager to please a girl much older than me whom I looked up to. I used to work at Applebee's as a host when I was younger, and I would get these huge bouts of hunger out of nowhere. I would end up sneaking chicken wings and food that looked untouched after customers left and take it into the host's stand to crouch down and eat by the front door. Skeptical, I always narrated in my head like I was Survivor Man. This chicken wing came from a stranger's plate but is perfectly safe to eat and will give me much needed energy to get me through the next half hour. I need to find some water soon though if I'm gonna make it. I pick my nose a lot. I have really bad allergies and my nose is either running or dried up after running, which results in painful boogers. Plus I sneeze often, so I clear them out for when I sneeze, that way I don't spray boogers everywhere. I always pick and wipe into a tissue and throw it away, or, if I can't find a tissue, pick and dump directly into the trash can. I also either wash my hands or use hand sanitizer after, so I guess I'm not that disgusting. I never in front of anyone, though, and I never will, because then my secret would be revealed. I once had sexual relations with a cousin. We were both at the peak of puberty, like where you would drag your dick through a mile of broken glass just to hear a girl fart through a walkie-talkie kinda thing. Long story short, she had a hairy butt and the house had a lot of cameras in it. So, busted. One of my best friend's girlfriend cheated on him. It happened before we met, but I found out from mutual friends. If I tell him, I'll ruin some friendships, but I feel awful for not telling him. Also, I'm afraid of having kids because I don't want to have to raise someone if they're mentally or physically handicapped. My ex-girlfriend had 2 autistic sisters, and it really made me look at having kids in another, darker, perspective. I suppose my rape fetish, I'm female. I obviously don't support it, and nobody deserves to have it happen to them, but in a fictional/fantasy setting it turns me on. For example, hearing about it happening to someone or seeing news about it makes me so angry and sad, but in porn or a movie scene it gets me. People would still consider that disgusting though. Edit, and this got way more attention than I expected. Edit gold. Thanks, mysterious stranger. I get hemorrhoids, bad, painful, don't want to even sit down for days. Hemorrhoids. But wait, that's not all, folks. The disgusting part, I use a frozen sock to help ease the pain. One night after a bad bout, my boyfriend at the time went into our freezer to get ice or something. I'm lying on the couch bottom up pretending to not be in pain. He comes to me with a frozen sock that was resting with our food in the freezer. Turns out people don't like butt socks on their food. Who knew? When I was 4, I had to poop really bad while swimming, but I didn't want to get out, so I just let the log print out of my bum, about a 5-incher, and slid it out of my bathing suit. Looking back on it, I really should have let it out in the deep end because everyone had to get out. One of my proudest secrets, and now you all know. Treasure it, please. When I was younger, my father left my mother for a woman that was so young she could have been my sister. I got really angry about it all one day and drove over to his house and broke all of the spaghetti in his cupboard into tiny little pieces. No one will ever know that it was me. Please subscribe to hilarious posts and comments. Thank you.